So if you've been following the world of AI, I'm sure you've heard the terms RAG, semantic search, keyword search, vector databases, retrieval augmented generation just being thrown around all the time. In this video, I'm going to explain to you in simple terms exactly what RAG systems are and why they're super critical towards the success of most AI agentic systems, so that the next time someone talks to you about a RAG system, you know exactly what they're talking about. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, cool. So what is RAG? RAG just stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. RAG is a framework used in NLP and AI to improve the quality and relevance of generated text by integrating retrieval from external data sources. Now, honestly, even when I read that makes absolutely no sense to me. So I'm going to break it down for you in simple terms. RAG, as I said, stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. And each of these three keywords are just one major component of what a RAG system is and why it's super important. So we've got retrieval, we've got augmentation, and then we have generation. All right, so I'm going to explain this using a quick diagram that I prepared. So let's say, for example, this tall stick man is a user or an employee at a company called Chemexa, right? And he wants to ask ChatGPT a certain question about his company. So he might prompt into ChatGPT, what are the policies regarding sick leave at Chemexa? What do you guys think ChatGPT is going to answer when it gets this question? Let me show you quickly. So if I quickly just pull up ChatGPT here and I copy in the prompt and I delete the screenshot. So it says, what are the policies regarding sick leave at Chemexa? Let's see what ChatGPT says. Chemexa's sick leave policy isn't documented here. However, if you're looking to create or update one, I will blah, 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 blah. So ChatGPT basically just said, I don't know, right? Now, the reason why ChatGPT says I don't know is because ChatGPT is not some sort of magic silver ball that you can ask it any question in the universe and it will know the answer to everything about everything. ChatGPT at its core is just a probabilistic model that's able to predict the next word based off the words that come prior to it. So to simplify this down for you, what ChatGPT really does or really is, it's just a model that's memorized a whole bunch of information and now it just regurgitates that information to you based off the question that you ask it. So then based off that understanding, in order for ChatGPT to be able to answer a question about policies regarding sick leave at Chemexa, it would have to have access to that information somewhere. So it would either have to have memorized that information within its training data, or it would have to have gotten access to that information via the prompt that you wrote into ChatGPT. So as part of its context window. Now, it's obviously clear that ChatGPT hasn't been trained on Chemexa's sick leave policies because obviously it's proprietary data and it's probably not publicly available. So definitely not training data. But it is possible for us to be able to input Chemexa's sick leave policies into ChatGPT as a part of the prompt. And the reason why you do this is because you don't want to read 10, 20, 30 pages of documentation in order to extract just the part about Chemexa's sick leave policies. You just want to put in the whole document and you want ChatGPT to be able to answer your question and find the relevant information without you having to sit down for, 45 minutes and read through every single page. So technically what you can do is to input the information required to answer your question within the prompt into ChatGPT. But this isn't very ideal. And the reason why it's not ideal is because models like ChatGPT and other large language models, they charge you based off the number of input and output tokens of each execution or each run. So if there's more input and output tokens inside that specific run of the model, then it's going to be a more expensive run for you, right? So then your goal as a person that's building AI systems is to build an AI system that's got maximum accuracy while having the least amount of sort of data going through the large language model to keep the costs to a minimum. And retrieval augmented generation is the technique that allows developers to do exactly that. So to put this in perspective for you, I'll draw a diagram to explain exactly how the model might answer the question about Chemexa's sick leave policies. Let me just quickly get rid of this. So what the user's done is that the user's asked, what are the policies regarding sick leave at Chemexa? So as I said, the most simplest method to get ChatGPT to give you an answer is to grab the document regarding Chemex's policies, which might be a 100-page document, and put it inside the prompt with the question that you asked, and let ChatGPT read through the prompt and answer your question using that information. But using Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG, what ChatGPT is able to do is ChatGPT is able to search through the 100-page document and extract only the parts that are relevant in order for it to answer your question, right? So let's say, for example, we've asked, what are the policies regarding sick leave at Chemexa? What Retrieval Augmented Generations with AI systems do is that they then convert that into a search query, which is just a way to search through a database or a bunch of documents or a bunch of information. And that search query might be something like, what are the sick leave policies at Chemexa? Literally exactly the same question, right? So it would then use a search query to search through the document, and it will find information that's relevant to sick leave policies at Chemexa, which is probably going to be, let's say, this blue circle here. Then it will grab that information, right? It will bring it back and it will combine that information with the prompt, right? So then you would have basically, let's say if this blue circle was the data that it extracted, you would have the new prompt being, what are the policies regarding sick leave at Chemexa? And then you'd probably have something like search results, ... and then you'd have the information. So now the model, instead of just seeing what are the policies regarding sick leave at Chemexa, it sees what are the policies regarding sick leave at Chemexa. From search results, we found blah, 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 which is the information relevant to the question that's been asked. So if we then want to name this process of searching through the document and grabbing information is retrieval, or the first part of Retrieval Augmented Generation, right? Then this process of combining the initial prompt with the information found from the search is called augmentation. So you're augmenting the information found with the initial prompt to create a new augmented prompt, which has both the question and the information required for the answer, which is this part here, right? Now, the third part of Retrieval Augmented Generation, or the process, is generation. And all generation really just means, let me write that down. Generation is just the part that the model goes, okay, well, this is the prompt, this is the results from the search query, and it will answer your question, right? So this is just the answer or output you get from the model. So just to reiterate that, the model searches through the documents using a process called retrieval. Then it grabs the information that's relevant to the question and combines it with the initial prompt within its context, which is called augmentation. And then the third step is to grab now the augmented prompt and give you some sort of answer, which is the generation part. Okay, so that's all Retrieval Augmented Generation really is. It's just a way for the model to be able to access external information or information from external databases in order to be able to answer your question with enough context. But now that you understand what RAG is, or Retrieval Augmented Generation is, I think it's important for us to quickly discuss how the model is able to search through the documents. So the model is able to search through data primarily using one of two methods. First one is what we call keyword search. Now, keyword search, in simple terms, is basically just what you would call in Windows CTRL-F, in Mac OS you would call it Command F. Just a way for you to search through documents using exact keywords, right? Like if you search up cafe, coffee isn't going to come up as a response, right? It would only look for the words cafe or the letters CAFE, right? Or if you search up, for example, I don't know, pillow, nothing about blankets is going to come up, or nothing about beds is going to come up. It's only going to search for the word PILLOW. So keyword search basically just means the model looks through documents using exact matches. So it says, okay, well, let's look for exactly this keyword and see if there is any information regarding this keyword inside that document. Keyword search isn't very popular when it comes to retrieval augmented generation using AI systems. The much preferred method when it comes to searching through databases is what we call semantic search. Semantic search. And semantic search is basically just a type of search that uses vector databases. So I can probably do a whole video about vector databases and semantic search and exactly how it works under the hood. But for the purpose of this video, I want to keep it simple. Semantic search is just a way for you to search through a document using context or meaning, as opposed to exact matches like how it was with keyword search. So in the case of semantic search, if you were to search through a document with a query related to cafes, it's likely that coffee or any information regarding coffee is also going to come up as quite relevant, right? So it doesn't need to match the word exactly. It could match in terms of meaning or in terms of relevance. So in the case of semantic search, when you ask a certain query, the model doesn't just go and search for exact matches of that query inside the database. What it does is it tries to understand the context or the meaning of the query and understand what you're trying to achieve. And then using that context or meaning, it will look for similar information or relevant information inside the target database, right? So basically, semantic search is for you to search for information based off the context or the meaning of that information, not based off just exact matches. Now, the last thing I want to quickly touch on is just how important retrieval augmented generation is for building efficient AI agentic systems or building efficient AI agents. As I said before, one of the main goals of developers of automations is to be able to keep the cost of the agentic systems or the automations that they build to a minimum. And especially if those automations are using large language models, this reduction in cost would happen by reducing the amount of context used for each run of the large language model. So basically, you just want to make sure that there's as little information as possible being put into each prompt that's going into that large language model. And the way you can achieve this is obviously just by using retrieval augmented generation or RAG systems, as we talked about. So to put this in perspective for you, let's say, for example, if this horribly drawn brain, that's so bad, is an AI agent and it's trying to solve some sort of problem, this AI agent might say, okay, well, during this component or this subtask, I need access to the policies, let's say, for example, what was it that I was talking about before? The leave policies. The leave or sick leave policies or whatever sort of policies at Chemexa. And now instead of you having to have given all of Chemexa's policies as a part of the instructions to the model, which is obviously going to be very expensive, the model can just say, okay, for this subtask, I need to figure out the leave policies at Chemexa. Well, I have access to this database that's sitting externally that has all of the policies at Chemexa. Let me just use RAG, find what information is relevant, bring that information back, and using that information, figure out what I need to do in this subtask or give the answer to this subtask and move on, right? So as you can imagine, using RAG systems makes AI agentic systems or any sort of automations that you build with LLMs inside it much cheaper. Cool. So that was RAG in a nutshell. Now, the next time someone talks about, I don't know, semantic search and vector databases and retrieval augmented generation, you're going to know exactly what they're talking about. I hope you guys found this video useful. Feel free to leave a comment as to what you guys want me to talk about next. And also don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.